Hi, welcome to Cat and KOOGE Go to the Movies. I will be one of your hosts for this evening. I'm Kat.
And I'm KOOGE. I'll direct and be your other host for the evening.
While we were in production for this series, we got an amazing offer from Dr. Florence Alexander, the founder of the Orlando International Film Festival for the Lions Club.
She asked if Quavy Works, the producers of the Cat and KOOGE Go to the Movies show, would help her market the second annual Orlando International Film Festival, Lions Club. We agreed because our new show and the film festival had something special in common.
Our purpose is to explore and highlight unique films with important social messages, as does the Film Fest.
We love Hollywood films. However, one cannot really see and hear all the voices in the world by looking at them alone. The limits of our universe are often limited by our imagination and friends in our comfort zone.
Film festivals challenge us to look outside of our box, often exposing us to important ideas and different perspectives through the eyes of our local and global neighbors.
They introduce us to new, fresh, and independent filmmakers, rising producers, directors, actors, and writers.
Or as stars who want to do something out of their lane or support specific social messages or causes out of their wheelhouse.
We decided to launch our movie series, Cat and KOOGE Go to the Movies, by showcasing this event. On Monday, May 24th, the Lions Club will feature its winners of its Leo Club, that's young filmmakers from around the world.
The entire competition and award ceremony at the Enzian focuses on films from 35 countries and will feature films from May 24th to May 28th.
And the event ends with a Wakanda-styled rap party at the Sheridan North on May 28th. Dress code Afro-futuristic. Kat and I will be there.
So let us begin with an exclusive interview with Dr. Arline Woodbury, who is the Orlando International Film Festival Lions Club.
She's the ambassador, the head juror, and a board member.
My first question is, how does an established and distinguished clinical psychiatrist become an ambassador of a film festival?
Well, you learn very quickly that life is about the journey and not necessarily the destination. I would never have guessed that I would have been involved with a film festival. It was not on my horizon. I didn't think about it. I enjoy my work as a psychiatrist, and I was seeing people one-on-one and in small groups, and also working as a researcher, a clinician, and a department of a medical 10-department center. So I had no thoughts about the movies. I do enjoy movies. It's always been a passion. Coming from New York City, I could do movie marathons or Broadway marathons, see two in one day. So it was always something I was passionate about. And when you're able to blend your passion with what you do for work, it's magic. It's truly wonderful. And for me, the segue between seeing people one-on-one to now working with groups of people, they can be 100, 200 in an audience, or hundreds or thousands virtually in a virtual audience. So it's just expanded the platform for me, and I'm so excited.
Now, one of the main objectives of this show is to preview the programs and show film lovers and makers alike how and when they can view their specific films in this festival. Ambassador Arline, where can curious minds find the schedule?
We have a website online. You can go to www.orlandointernationalfilmfestival.org. That's O-R-G ending. Again, that's www.orlandointernationalfilmfestival.org. or oiff.us.
I understand the movies you selected fall into several thematic categories. What are they?
Okay, well, first of all, the main theme that we chose, we focused on 4 E's, if you remember that. We want movies can entertain, they can enlighten, they can educate, and they can empower. And we have movies from all around the world. The categories are Think and Grow Rich Legend, Youth on a Journey of Discovery, Environmental Climate Change, Life Challenges Around the World, Relationships Around the World, Retro Classic, and Community Challenges from around the world.
Well, without revealing the winners, can you give us a quick tour by category, just a peek of some of the remarkable films in the Think and Grow Rich Mastermind Principle category?
Yes. Now that's a thought that took hold all around the world. Most people have heard of the Think and Grow Rich legend, and it's really looking at what the most successful people, what their stories have been about, and learning their special formula. So many people have heard of this, the Think and Grow Rich legacy. We have um, these worldwide themes were researched by Napoleon Hill, who studied the journey and thinking of the most successful people. We can be inspired by their stories and apply the essence of their success formula to our own lives. Some very uplifting motivational stories.
So, what were some other films in that category?
Well, we have, it's interesting. We have the legacy movie itself on Think and Grow Rich Legacy. We also have a true story out of India that is the essence of the Think and Grow Rich concept. So that's the name of that is Kali Mati, which means black seed. Very interesting true story that it gives you an example of the Think and Grow Rich, how important our thinking is in helping us manifest our journey and reaching the successful destination that we aim for. Another one is there's a movie called Keep Shooting, and it's the documentary. It's actually a work in progress, and they're using our film festival to complete aspects of that documentary in a workshop. So this is showing you how a project gets started in the middle and helping to finish it. We're very excited to be part of that. Keep Shooting is the John Starks story. He was a well-known Knicks player, and there's a very there's a picture of him that went viral because he was able to get a dunk on Michael Jordan, and to get that in photograph that lasts forever, which is shown on the Keep Shooting picture shown now. He was dunking over Michael Jordan, who was the king of dunkers. So that was quite a triumph for him for that day to get points over Michael Jordan like that and have it pictured for him for the world to see forever. So we have great examples of we have workshops, and we'll be talking about that whole concept of thinking grow rich legacy, and movies that give you the exact examples. And I can't think of anything more inspiring than that.
Could you give us a quick tour of the Youth on a Journey Discovery category?
Yes. I'm so proud of what young people are doing, and I think they should be commended for their efforts. We have, instead of just getting into the politics of a lot of the issues before us, some of them have said, well, let's go see for ourselves and learn what's really going on and form our own opinions. We have a group of legal studies students, I think at the University of Central Florida, who took their break time and they went down to Brownville, Texas, and they actually filmed their entire journey. The name of that documentary film is A Break for Impact. They took their break and wanted to make an impact to find out what's really going on at the border in terms of all the immigration problems and issues that we hear about on the news. They weren't just going to fall into the political trap. They wanted to see for themselves so they could make an impact as they come back and prepare their careers, hopefully in immigration law. And so they help us with their eyesights and bringing their cameras. You see the difficulties that they had, the realities of what's going on there, being able to interview some people they were able to speak with. And I just think I commend them for taking their free time to help educate themselves and also share it with us, the public. And the film festival is a great platform for that, for people going out and to have their voices heard and to explore a particular topic and bring it back to us. So that was one film where the students, A Break for Impact. Another one I found very interesting. It's called No Internet. And here, with no internet, one day the children wake up, they get online. One young man was involved with, he was in the middle of a gaming tournament, and all of a sudden the internet went off. It kind of flickered initially and then was totally off. So this became a quest to figure out, well, what happened to the internet? What's going on? Was this their parents involved in taking them off the internet because they had discussions about maybe spending too much time online? And I know many parents can relate to that. But the premise is this: the filmmaker was actually, I like feedback from us. The film festival can also serve not only as a workshop for a work in progress, but it can also give the filmmaker some indication as to whether this would be a good pilot for a possible series. I think he wants to possibly get a show series, because these children have to it's like a mystery. They have to figure out what happened. Did their parents cut off the internet? Did the city cut off the internet? Is the whole country without internet? Is this a government plot? I mean, they go through the whole works, then you have to find out what answers they find. And the filmmaker is trying to see if this can become a pilot for a series. So we can be, as an audience, we can actually help with that decision making. Now, another one in terms of youth, there's so many. I'm just impressed with there's the one I thought was very touching, and this comes from Iran. It's called One Nice Day. And I thought it was very inspiring because, we hear about how students can be very mean to one another. And in this particular story, the classmates get together and decide to do something nice for one of their classmates that's going through a hard time. And it's good to see stories about the good things that children can do for one another.
I understand you got a lot of films from Iran. Why do you think that is?
Yes. We got, most of them come from the United States, of course, since that's where we're based, and we have quite a few from Florida. But in terms of the international countries, 20 came from Iran. And I believe that's because when you have a society that's very oppressed, and politically there are countries that are putting pressure on Iran, and we understand the politics. But beyond the politics, if you can get to those human stories, the heart-to-heart stories, there are people in Iran very desperate to have their voices heard. And when they're stressed and there's political pressure against them, the only outlet they may have is putting their stories together, pouring their heart and their creativity into these films and the messages they're trying to get out to the world. And so our film festival offers such a platform, and they're very eager to have their stories heard and to have their voices out there in the world. And we're able to do that with our Orlando International Film Festival Lions Club. It's a great platform.
Tell us about the environmental and climate change category that you put together.
Okay. There are quite a few. It's interesting. What's going on in the world gets reflected in the films, of course. So the more urgent some issue is, the more likely it's to be shown. Now, the picture showing now is from the Voice of the Glaciers, and that's out of Norway. What impressed me most about that is that young people that filmed their journey as they went to seek the truth about climate change and melting glaciers. They weren't just relying on the politics of people that believe or don't believe. They wanted to go see for themselves. And anyone that can take a trip to the glaciers and take pictures of them now and actually document the melting of the ice caps there, and then look at what those pictures were 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, you see dramatic changes in just a short amount of time. And so we do have to take the changes happening on the planet very carefully. But I'm very proud of the young people taking a chance, going and taking their own journey and filming it, documenting it, and then submitting it to the film festival to help get it out there to the world. Very important. Another example of environmental climate change There's a movie called The Bee Guy, and this happens to be a Florida native who's very interested in protecting and maintaining bees. And he's done a film to help the world know just how important bees are to us, to the environment. Bees help pollinate, and this is included in our food production, in our crops. And if we didn't have the bees doing the cross pollination that they were doing, a lot of our food supply would not be there. We depend on oxygen, water, and we must have food. The bees are part of that food supply and very important to the planet. So if we're doing things on the planet, they're disrupting ecosystems and decreasing the bee supply, we're damaging our very survival. So the bee guy, I think he actually gives class demonstrations. So he made this film as part of educating people. So he wants to educate, enlighten, and hopefully we can empower people to help make the right decisions to do better by our planet and to keep our ecosystems healthier and to therefore secure our own longevity in our lives. Another example of environment, there are just some great films. There's one called The Great Atchafalaya Basin. That's in Louisiana. There are very vulnerable areas of our planet that are in danger. And whether it's from flooding or droughts, we have areas that we must take care of and look at how we can help better support the areas. But a lot of the films dealing with climate and environment have some of the most beautiful cinematography I've seen. We have so many. I mean, just coming for the cinematography alone, and when you see the beauty, I think you'll be inspired. What do we have to do to maintain the beauty of this location?
What can you share with us about life challenges around the world category?
There's a movie called Destitute Living, and that's from Palestine. And this is a story about an occupied territory where their water supply was cut off. Now, we all know we need oxygen to live, must have water, and of course, food. So there were, in this particular story, there's a family that tried to turn on their faucet, there's no water. The water has been cut off. And two men come up with a dangerous plan to get water for their families. And this is not, and here in Palestine, it's a very impoverished area, but we've learned here, even in the richest country in the world, the United States, just recently, the Houston area, because of their pipes bursting because they had a freeze. They're not used to cold weather that long. They had been warned with a study 10 years ago, though, but no action had been taken. So I had friends in Houston that they had no water coming into their home. There's no water for showers, no water for anything. And I think that, hang on a second, that we don't have to think of it being a third world country. This can happen anywhere. Okay, I have to charge my battery. Hang on a minute. Okay. Back. We also have examples of Flint, Michigan, where there were water problems because of pipe issues and lead in the pipes. And part of the whole politics of trying to get infrastructure reformed, you know, it's not just, it's supplying the water, it's infrastructure, pipes with lead, a lot of things we have to be concerned about there. And the fact that these films pick and put a story behind all of that issue. When you see this family and there's no water, and you know they absolutely have to have water to survive, and you turn on the tap and nothing comes out, it gives a story and a human platform to the issue itself. Another story that compares climate issues or life challenges, there's a story called Pacha. This is a special story about a young boy. And when you see this story of how this young boy decides, he's late for school frequently in the morning because he has to run to a water truck to get water to bring it home to his mother who's sick. And also he brings it to neighbors. So you see his compassion. And even though they just see him coming late to school, if they knew what he had to go through, sometimes if you're not there early and the first in line, the water truck runs out of water, and you saw people running after the truck because they needed the water. The truck might not be back for days. So it became an emergency thing, and he took care of his mother, a neighbor. He was a very thoughtful and artistic boy. And when you hear his story and what he does something that literally can change the world. So I think all of us watching that movie, Katja, which will be shown the very first day of the film festival, you realize, wow, if this young 8 or 9 year old can do all of that, then surely I, with many more resources, because he was totally destitute with a sick mother, and he was able to do something that caused him to be noticed, and he made a difference. And he was respectful of trees and how trees have roots that secure the water in the land, and the trees provide the nest for the birds. So he was aware of all of that interconnectedness. And I really think that's a great movie. And the last one is Sky Blossom. Sky Blossom highlights how very young people today are taking up the responsibility of caring for their parents and grandparents. There are so many young people now, they could be teenagers or even younger, and they're taking on the responsibility of disabled parents and grandparents. And they're doing a phenomenal service in the family. And just wanting to highlight, and it's a beautiful story of about 6 or 7 young people doing that. So that's a sample of that particular category.
Could you give us examples of the universal human relationship and issues category?
Okay. There are, I think movies overall give us examples of relationships. That's basically a movie will revolve around that. One that I can think of, there's one called Bogalusa, U.S. I believe that's in Louisiana. And this is the story of an estranged father who attempts to repair and establish a relationship with his young daughter. And with as many single parent families as we have today and in the world, I just thought it was a very touching story. He tries his best to engage his daughter, who's very resistant and angry and hostile because, of course, she's felt abandoned and doesn't really know why her father wasn't there. So she starts off very angry, and he does his very best to engage her. And I just thought it was a delightful story. And I think a lot of parents and children can relate to that issue. Another movie was something called What I Learned on Lovett Street. And this is where father, oh my God.
Oh, we lost her just for a minute. Let our technicians work to get her back online. One of the things that impresses me about film festivals is this category, human relationships. No matter how good Hollywood makes films, anybody in the world can make films about human relationships that are in fact universal. So I can see the technicians trying to bring her back online. She may have to go out and come back in, and we can wait for that. So, Kat, have you seen anything that you particularly piqued your interest?
To be honest with you, Cooj, all of the movies are, I could just eat them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner because to me, some of these topics are not discussed, like climate change. And she just made me want to go check out the glaciers and take some pictures of them while they're still there. Um, but so many topics, the children taking care of the grandparents and the parents, and those are reverse roles that, you know, I guess help people within the movie, help people understand that they're not alone. It's a universal topic. And so I'd take any of these movies, and and I love all of them actually.
The ones that piqued my interest the most were the youth on a journey of discovery category, where now the technology exists that young people can travel anywhere in the world and take a camera with them. So young people going to um, the Arctic to personally check out the melting ice cap issue. And that's important because there's some people that are denying that there is hatred on the world. Just I was pretty impressed by that photo because in that photo you they're not so much looking at icebergs, looking at where icebergs used to be. And you can tell that by the smoothness of the landscape. And way in the distance, you can see icebergs. So those young people, when they return to their lives and to their education, I think they're going to have a much more firm position on whether or not something is happening with the client and they need to do something about it.
I think it's a perfect opportunity for people to also get sensitized um, in a particular area of their interest, because you don't know sometimes what will impact you until you see a movie, um, and they may want to become warriors for that cause.
Okay, guess what? Our
I'm back.
engineers got Dr. Arline back.
Now, you know what? That was just a dramatic theatrical ploy to show you don't have to be in a third world country to experience electrical blackouts. I had my laptop plugged in. It had been plugged in all day. I had it plugged into the wall, but that outlet was not giving it juice. So my laptop shut down. It kept telling me low battery, even though I saw it plugged in. So you don't have to be in a third world country to experience that. That was just my example. There are lots of films that give you demonstrations, and that was my demo.
Well,
So
let's
I
get
can pick up where I left off.
Yes, you can.
Okay.
You were dealing with.
I was talking about. Oh, yes. I was about to tell you in terms of universal human relationships.
You're right.
Okay, I was finishing up on what I learned on Lovett Street. That was about a father helping his daughter thrive despite having a serious life-threatening illness. And the question throughout that movie is, can the power of love extend her life and maximize the days that they have together? His wife had left them, but he hoped to keep his daughter in his life as long as possible. And he's trying to find the balance between protecting his daughter. For example, he didn't want her to enjoy herself riding a bicycle. He feared her getting hurt. But he didn't want to be overprotected, so she couldn't enjoy whatever time she had left. And I think a lot of parents that have a very sick child anyone could identify with that issue, but it's a very touching story. And then the picture that you showed, Stop the Bleed. This is a very important, and right before Memorial Day weekend, we want to let the people in Parkland, Florida know that we have not forgotten their loved ones. This is just before Memorial Day. We want to honor the memory of those that were lost in Parkland, Florida at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School just 3 years ago on February 14th. We want the families and their friends to know that their lost loved ones are remembered at this time. And this is a very special film that interviews some of the families after the fact to see how they're doing, how they're coping. Everyone has their own way of grieving and how they move on and maintain the memory of their lost child or the teacher involved in that shooting. So those are the examples I have for the human relationships. There's so many different relationships that are discussed in movies.
Can you tell us about the retro classic category? That sounds like something I would be particularly interested in because it's kind of old school.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. If you can remember, there are lots of TV movies that we would go and watch every week, whether it's, was it Mayberry, the small town, and you had everybody, the sheriff, his son Opie, and the whole bit. Well, there's a movie that we have that reminds me of that kind of a throwback, that, that good sheriff that everybody loves, and of course there's the bad guy. Um, it's called His Stretch of Texas Ground. And there's a sheriff who's tough, and he has a difficult decision to make as to whether or not to follow the chain of command as the feds take over a serious hostage situation, or to follow his heart and instincts. But you see him interact, how well regarded he is in the town. You see a bad guy who just got out of jail, and so it kind of gives you the dynamics of the good and evil, and the different people in the town. And a crisis occurs, and then you have how whatever the resolution is. I just thought it was, to me, it reminded me of that classic throwback. There's so many movies that had the good sheriff, the bad guys, and this is kind of a take on that. Now another movie. Another one called Underwood seemed like another throwback. It reminded me of the Murder, She Wrote, Angela Lansbury um, series. Now, this is
Yeah.
a Florida filmmaker that did this, and it's about an author who becomes involved in solving a cold case murder while on vacation. She's just minding her own business in vacation, and she starts. I don't want to ruin the theme, but it's an interesting thematic story. Remind me sort of like a Murder, She Wrote. Another one is called Intuition. Again, it has a woman of an earlier era, and she's solving a murder mystery partly with her intuitive skills, sort of like a whodunit with a twist. So those are some of the retro classics.
Nice.
Finally, tell us about the community or global challenge and issues category.
Right. Well, not surprisingly, the whole world is dealing with COVID-19. So we had 3 or 4 films come on or submitted that dealt with that very issue. It's a global issue for everyone. One is called Viper Virus. And then we even had like an animated. And sometimes you'd be surprised at how there are films with very little sound. They use media, whether it's movement, dance, collage, and they can tell the story as effectively. So we have some films to show about that, the general health concern the whole world is gripped in. We also have a story called Cheyenne. It's about a woman in desperate need of therapy, and you see how she deals with her challenges and how she's able to work out a resolution to her health crisis. Now, a very interesting community topic is a film called Shooting Heroin, and I really want to and hope people come see this. It's not a downer. There are some people that responded to the title, but when they see what it is, if we were not dealing with COVID-19, so it's completely occupying all of our thoughts, pretty much health-wise. Otherwise, we'd be focusing more on the opioid crisis. It was a problem before COVID-19. It still continues, and we still have to deal with it. And there are small rural towns even that have to grapple with this community and global problem, actually. So, with Shooting Heroin, the story is about a small town, and there are 3 people that decide they have to giving hope because they're trying to see what they can do. There's one woman who lost both her sons, her only children, to overdoses. Another man lost his sister to an overdose. And the third man was working in the prison system and saw the people coming through the prisons with the problems of opioid addiction.
Mm.
Now, what also is interesting about this film, we have A-list actors in this film. They thought this issue was so important to share with the world that they gave their time to make this movie. I don't know how much they were paid or anything, but We have an actress that got a Golden Globe nomination, an Emmy nomination. Another actress had an Oscar nomination, and then another actor was in, um, let me see, he was in several TV shows. Of another, the actor who plays the minister in this film is the brother of John Turturro. He's Nick Turturro, and you recognize his face. He's been in numerous TV series. So we have well-known actors that gave this time to make the Shooting Heroin film something that can go out into the community, because there are people in real pain, and we need to find answers to help with this particular epidemic.
Well, thank you for sharing with us just a slice of some of the movies, because I know you have over 100 movies in the film festival, and we can only give you so much time to just get a taste of the sizzle in this film festival. Now, Ambassador Arline, important to a film festival, one of the great things about a film festival is film festivals have hot workshops, especially if you're a filmmaker. What do you have to offer in terms of workshops?
Yes. One moment. We have several workshops. I know in the beginning we have, even for something like the movie Stop the Bleed, because that's such an important community issue, we have a question and answer afterwards. And there are a group of movies that deal with loss. So we'll have talking about that. We have filmmakers, people in the industry that are coming together to give a workshop called Tricks of the Trade. And they share, I mean, these are board members in the industry that come in and share their tips and their
I think she froze on us for a second. Let's give her a second for the system to kick in, and then we'll start again on these workshops, which is, for me, one of the most important parts of a film festival, because you get to meet not just other filmmakers, but you also get to meet distributors, and that could lead to money. Are you back, Dr. Arline?
Yes, I'm back. In fact, I was just talking about, you have a panel discussion called Raise the Cash, a most important topic, because the money to help finance a production is important.
Could you do us a favor and start from the top? Tell us about the workshops, because we may have lost some in the freeze.
Yes. Okay. Yes. One of the workshops, well, first of all, we have a workshop. I think I indicated that our platform not only shows the finished film, we take documentaries and films in progress. So, for example, the Keep Shooting, the story about the basketball player John Starks, is going to have a 3 to 4 hour workshop that actually helps complete it and gives information. It's a work in progress, and it's going to continue at our film festival. There's a whole afternoon workshop on that. And then there are people in the industry, the film industry, that are coming together to give a panel discussion on of the trade. It's 1 hour panel. Secretary of Florida chapter. So I just think the fact that we're incorporating the making of a project, the continuing, putting it together, giving constructive criticism as a filmmaker is trying to work and put a piece together, and getting people in the industry there to work with them and to help advise those making a product, and also teaching students. I think that's very important, from young people being taught to college age students. and to actual filmmakers of all ages. The other areas we mentioned, we're going to be showing a film called Wounded Heroes, and we're going to have a question and answer period, hopefully with the filmmaker who's going to try to be there. He has therapy that can be very helpful for PTSD. A lot of veterans have problems with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and he has some very innovative, creative therapies that can be beneficial in their treatments. So there'll be discussion there. We also have for the Think and Grow Rich Legacy, there's a whole workshop behind that, that whole worldwide thinking of what it is that successful people have. So there's a workshop on that. We'll have filmmakers networking every evening. And then on the last day, last but not least, we have the Raise the Cash panel hosted by Kujatelli Willie, our host, KOOGE himself. And he's going to have Mr. DuPont as one of the panelists. And we're looking forward to that because it's like, show me the money. We need to know how to get the money to be able to make those dreams happen in terms of the filmmaking. So we look forward to you hosting that, KOOGE.
Thank you.
Oh, one more. There's also an Arts and Cultural Embrace Diversity panel that's hosted by Terry Olson, who's the Director of Arts and Cultural Affairs of Orange County, Florida. So Arts and Culture Embrace Diversity panel, I think, will be a very exciting discussion also.
Ambassador Arline, would you please tell us about the tickets, costs, and how and where to buy them?
I hope you have the something you can pull up that shows the different categories. What I would advise people to do, I believe it's $125 for the whole 5 days. And there'll also be an on-demand feature so you can pull down any of the films that you want to see when you're ready to see them. That is actually the best buy at $125. But you also have the option of the 1-day pass for $35, 2-day pass for $50, 3-day pass for $75, and a 4-day pass for $100. But I know if you get on one day and we talk about a movie from the previous day and how hot it was, you're going to be upset you didn't get the whole week. So consider doing all 5 days if you can.
And how can they buy them? Where do they go to buy the tickets?
You can go to the website www.orlandointernationalfilmfestival.org or www.oiff.us.
And also, let me add, I'm looking at the site now. There's also a virtual ticket where you can watch many of the movies from home. That's $25. And there's a Wakanda style rap party. That's $35. That ends the entire affair.
And in fact, just before that Wakanda party, there's a film being shown called Black Seed. And it's telling us a lot about Africans in America and the history, the things that our schools don't often teach us. And it's an interesting history compilation. It's a part 1, and they're going to be working on a part 2 that I hope we can show in future festivals. Then after that film, we go into the Wakanda party. The Wakanda themed party.
Yes, I'm excited. The Cat and KOOGE show also has a special offer. KOOGE, tell them what the offer is.
If you go to the website and buy your ticket online, whatever ticket you buy, you can get $5 off by simply entering the code capital D, capital R-A. Think Dr. Arline. D-R-A, all caps.
Thank you, Ambassador Arline, for joining us and sharing the details of this upcoming and exciting festival.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you most of all to our audience. Let us know what you think. Please email us at quayleeworks@gmail.com and like us on facebook.com/quayleeworks. I'm Kat, coming to you from New York, New York. See you at the Orlando International Film Festival Lions Club, May 24th to May 28th. Until then, live passionately.
And I'm KOOGE, coming to you from Orlando, Florida. See you at the film festival and the Wakanda style rap party on May 28th. Get your tickets now.
See you next Thursday when Kat and KOOGE go to the movies, return to reveal more exciting details about the Orlando International Film Festival Lions Club. Please note, if you have submitted a film to the festival and want to know if it has been scheduled for showing, you can visit oiff.us today and review the schedule. Please note, the schedule is subject to change, and you must have given us permission to download the file for it to be shown. Good night, all.